Ka tika me timata pēnei. Ko te reo rā kei kura I ahu mai ngā tohu kura o te Aotearoa. Nā reira tēnei, ko Ruapehu maunga e pia tāta ana I te pō I te ao e mihi kau atu ana kia koutou katoa. Ko tai mai ki te whakanuia, ki te tautoko hia I tēnei kaupapa. Pe tēnei huhuinga whakahirahira mō tātou. Ka tika anō, hei mihi atu ki tō tātou kau whakarite. E ngā rangatira ki te kai karakia, me te kai kōrero kua tau mai nei, kua whakataungia mai I a mātou te ata nei a tēnā kōrua I ngā pāpā, I ngā rangatira. Huri atu ngā mei ki ngā pau, ki te tokorua ngā pau, kia kahurangi, kia nenitari, rawa ko te pāpā Mason, me tō kōrua whakaaro rangatira, hei kawea nei, hei tū nei I tēnei kaupapa whakaira mō tātou, mō ngai Māori, mō ngai iwi Māori, me ngā whānau I te oranga nui o ngā whānau I roa I a Aotearoa nei. Ka tika, huri tēnei no tūhaurangi me Ngāti Whakaue, hei tui mui a koutou I runga I ngā whāriki o te tū whakaiti. Nā reira I ngā mātāwaka, I ngā mātāmaunga whakahi, ngā awa kanapanapa kua tau mai nei, ki roto I tēnei hui tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou. Nō ki te honore anō. It's my honour again to stand before you to share the kōrero of Ruapehu Whānau Transformation, a kōrero from the people of Ngāti Rangi, from the rohe of Koro Ruapehu e Ngāti Rangi. And before I do that, can I just say it must be something in the genes, of the Te Arawa genes. This is my whanaunga over here, my cousin, Stacey, talking about those of us who happen to look younger. I'm sure she's just being complimentary because we're related. But also, cousin, I missed the memo on the uniform, and I should know better. Tūhaurangi Ngāti Wāhi o Deutz. Hey, I'm just not wearing enough red today, whānau. So sorry about that. Hoi anō, back to the story, because the other thing that my cousin asked me to do was to, thanks to the previous panel, was to push the kōrero into 15 minutes. So I'll try and do that, and I'll start my timer, cousin, just to do that for you. So our context, so this is some of the story that I'll share with you today. Where we are, who we are, and we are a rural community in Aotearoa, you know where we are. I'll talk about the collectively driven transformation that we've been able to achieve. I'll talk about the framework that has guided us in achieving that. I will highlight some of the outcomes, or we call them solutions, just 5 of those today. And then I'll talk a little bit about our critical success factors and then some concluding remarks. And I will try and do that seamlessly within 15 minutes. So this is us, Raetihi, Ohakune and Waiouru. This is a story from the central North Island. These stats are old, but at the moment there's just under 4,000 of us. And in some of our towns, just to give you a bit more insight, in Raetihi we are 65% Māori, and the median income is 20,000, one of the lowest in the country. So back in 2012, actually, we brought together a group, we call them the Community Reference Group, and they represent a number of organisations and a number of whānau from around our community, and together they followed a methodology of stats, stories and solutions to come up with what is, I guess, a transformative plan for us, and this is very much about our own story. This plan, for the first time, believe it or not, despite the fact that we're a small place, for the first time brought together all of these people. So we're talking our schools, our health providers, our local government agencies, our iwi, both iwi who are locally situated in Ohakune and Raetihi, right through to our religious leaders, to marae committee, to everybody that you can think of. And some of the most important ones, because they're quite influential, are some of our major employers and businesses here as well. So I'm actually we're going to try, as I look down the back there, and share with you a video, because this kind of, rather than me telling you about us, this video shows what we're about. This video that you're about to watch, hopefully, is us celebrating with our community the signing of the Ngāti Rangi Deed of Settlement, Rukitia Te Mana, and we also took the opportunity to celebrate actually the completion of the first Ruapehu Whānau Transformation Plan. So we'll see if it plays.
You got to get up, stand up, stand up, get up, stand up, stand up, to the music that common unity brings to
today is about saying thank you to our community, saying thank you to our whānau, and chilling out at the Ruapehu Whānau Festival, having some
Don't
fun.
worry about a thing, 'cause when the music hits
And that it's taken amongst all of us to achieve what we've been able to achieve as a part of Ruapehu Whānau Transformation. And you're here at an event that's that. Top Town is another achievement of Ruapehu Whānau Transformation. Kia ora Raetihi, repeat this year. Te Paitata and our Ruapehu Community Learning and Technology Hub is an achievement of RWT. Ruapehu Recruitment, the iwi-owned recruitment company, is an achievement of RWT. Te Whareauru ki Ruapehu, our housing project that works alongside empowering whānau to address some critical housing issues. And there's some major investment going on in that space from TPK, is another product of RWT. And there are others. And there will be more, lots of big ones coming up for all of us.
have a good time. Spend the feeling of joy and keep it alive. Ragamuffin is the way I show my Rastafari. Come on everybody and give us a try. So let's all come together as one, one love. So let's all come together as one, yeah, one love. Oh yeah, now. You got to get up, stand up, stand up. Get up, get up.
We've just finished the Ruapehu Whānau Festival. Everything's been packed down. It's been an awesome weekend, and just wanted to say thanks to everyone. Really appreciated it, and on behalf of us all, stay safe until our next kaupapa. Ngāti Ora. Kia ora.
Ka pai. I'll just do a little plug there for our Boys Common Unity. Their songs are available on Spotify and App Store, iTunes. So I talked about this approach of stats, stories, solutions, and it really has underpinned, I guess, our success so far. Stats, so as you can see, we gathered statistics at a town level, and it took some time. It actually took 18 months to get that from government. It took some time to gather those statistics, and the reason why we had to do that was to truly understand and define the problem or the challenge. We had to get insights right down to our level. If we were to go off national trends, we would be acting on the wrong data. So there's the stats, and what we did with that is we brought them into our community reference group, that collective that I talked about, and it was through their intelligence and through their experiences that we gathered the stories. Because, despite what my sister may say on Wednesday, just an early plug for her kōrero, although it will be fantastic, the stats only tell one side of the story. And so we had to gather the intelligence of our people and say, and those that are actually living at home, not those of us who may have gone away and got degrees and all those types of things, but those who are actually living at home, the ahika, they're the ones who know what will work for them. So we gathered the stories, and then through, I guess, a process of facilitation, they were the ones who designed 23 localised, contextualised solutions for themselves. This is the framework that we work to, and let me just anchor this really important message about this plan, this framework, which is a whenua-based framework, and you would have heard me talk about that 2 years ago. But for those who haven't heard it before, there's an understanding at home that koro Ruapehu will look after every living thing in his shadow. And this kaupapa is about us listening and learning from him, and so turning around and looking after each other. So, and you'll see that in the shadows, in the vibrant shadows. The yellow is Raetihi, the pink Ohakune, and the teal, the blue, is Waiouru. And so when those colours come together, i.e. when our towns, when our people come together, we create more colours and more beautiful things. And that is, I guess, the sustainable message and waka of this particular kaupapa. So this plan lasted us 4 years, but really it's that underpinning message of us coming together as a collective that will carry on through and carry on our actions beyond this plan and its 23 solutions. So the opportunities that you see in the middle there are 10 key areas that we measure. So from understanding the stats, the stories and the solutions and aspirations of our people, we were able to identify measurement dimensions that help us to track our progress and, more importantly, to track and understand if we are making an impact that really matters for our people, which Aoirangi talked so eloquently about this morning. So 23 of those solutions, 20 of them are now complete. And I will share with you, because I have been asked to share with you, five highlights from some of these solutions. One is in the education area, as I'm pushing through the time. So it's just what we were able to do, obviously, is when we gathered the stats, we had some baseline data that we now look. Kia ora. Our college is 70% Māori. 70% Māori. We're lucky probably that we only have the one college to focus on, but they have been such stalwarts inside the community reference group. And in our next plan that we're about to launch at the end of this month with our Honourable Nanaia Mahuta, there's some stories in there, in particular from the tumuaki. So still a long way to go. But some amazing achievements for our rangatahi. One of our, groundbreaking solutions, and it took pretty much the extent of the plan to get this up and running, is Te Pai Tata. So it's a community learning and technology hub, and what we wanted to acknowledge was that, one, given today's technologies, there's no need for our kids or for anyone to leave home and to go to university. It's such a foreign environment anyway. And if you grow up in a place like ours, it's even more foreign and more challenging. So we have a personal story in my family where one of my sister-in-law actually went away to do her accounting degree and did very well, but just the environment was too much for her, too challenging. So she came home after her first year. One of those stories is too many stories, but we have a lot of those. So this is a place where our whānau can connect nationally and globally to a learning place, but also a market, the marketplace. So this is kind of Te Pai Tata. We took over the lease. We have a third-party lease in one of the buildings of the college, in a building that had been sitting dormant for about 3 years. This is what it used to look like, and this is what it looks like now, with all of our babies in there, getting their coding and building games and apps and all of that neat stuff and doing 3D printing. This is a day we try and have whānau, so whānau learning days in and around technology. And you can see that uncle here is programming the robot when it's supposed to be the tamariki programming the robot. It's lots of fun. Another groundbreaking solution out of the achievements of this plan has been this iwi-owned recruitment company. Aoirangi this morning talked about sustainable platforms for change. And we are very much about that, and you'll see that when I talk about some of the critical success factors. But this is, a more detailed example of a sustainable platform for change, because it's a model that's based on a social, you could say it's a social enterprise model. Some people would say that. So what that means is that we provide four different types of service, but we provide two that are commercial services that we charge for, that we gain income for, so that we can then provide the other two services, which are directly kind of free or subsidised services for our whānau. What we found in the stats and the stories was that there was a lot of barriers in and around employment, but most of them were perceived. So we had some of the major employers in our community saying, we advertise, but no locals want to work for us. And then we had whānau in the same room at the same time saying, because we don't think that you want us to work for you. And everybody was speaking English, but they're speaking a different language. Yeah. So what we realised was that the solution was creating a bridge, a sustainable bridge that will continue to connect our people with employment or training opportunities. So Ruapehu Recruitment has done very well. They've achieved over 330 employment outcomes in their first 3 years of operation, a profit each year, which we were very surprised with, pleasantly surprised with. But that 33 employment outcomes equates to around about just under $8 million worth of income for whānau that is staying in our area, in our homes. And we are now at the point where we are where we are sharing this great solution with other iwi around the motu. I want to talk about Te Whare Uru ki Ruapehu, and I look at our awesome kaimahi over here who are doing amazing work with hundreds of whānau members in our community, and it's focused on repairs and maintenance, heating, home ownership, whare effects. And I'm going to share with you soon actually one of our new videos that we have to try and engage our whānau who, and I think lots of us who work with whānau will know, sometimes our whānau just don't know what they don't know. And so in particular in our climate, it's a very interesting climate. This summer we got up to nearly 30 degrees, and then in winter we're -7 and it's snowing. So what that means is that there are particular things that you need to know to look after your home, to maintain your home. And so Te Whare Uru ki Ruapehu, can I just also give a shout out, is supported, the backbone of that program is supported by Te Paumatakana. And I also acknowledge Te Pinu Kōkiri, as I know they're here today, who have supported quite significantly our repairs and maintenance program. So these are some of our whānau. This is a solo mum with 4, who had half the house with no power, and so had all these leads kind of coming around into the bathroom, one of which was powering a lamp right next to the bath. And I know that this is not a new story, unfortunately, for many of our kaimahi out there today. But these are some of the major differences that are being made. So we can go from talking about, esoteric, strategic things to, at the end of the day, this is the reason why we're all here and why we do what we do.
Kia ora whānau, welcome to Whare Facts. Today we're going to be looking at cleaning out your spouting, so we'll get straight into it. So for this all we need is a ladder and a bucket. So for setting up, just need to make sure our ladder's got all the safety features attached. And then setting the ladder up, we don't want to be on top of the guttering. You end up crushing it. So where we can, we need to be underneath it. Nice and strong and sturdy. What I want to do is scrape everything out by hand, all the way along. Without leaning over too far from your ladder, and just basically moving your ladder along and keep on going. So there it is, whānau, a few easy steps just to help keep your house maintained. Look for us for the next session of Whare Facts.
So a side note, or side story about that particular video is that it's made by a young man who is a descendant of Ngāti Rangi, who is kind of building up his business, his enterprise, which is obviously in and around video making and videography. So what we try and do is always be considerate about and purposeful about everything that we do in our approach. So not only are we creating something that's for our whānau, and we'll create a whole series of the Whare Facts, and obviously we try and make them engaging, which thank goodness for Te Oti, because he's got a good sense of humour to do that. But then at the same time, in the background, we're helping one of our our rangatai build up their own enterprise. I just want to read something for you. We did in evaluating ourselves, we had a PhD fellow do a case study, do a review of Ruapehu Whānau Transformation. And I'm going to read something from him to all of you that I think resonates with a lot of the kōrero actually that was dropped out this morning. And it goes like this. The RWT is an example of complexity and systems thinking in Indigenous and community development. From an Indigenous development angle, it demonstrates a community-integrated strategy that targets system change as the catalyst for improving outcomes for a local iwi and its members over a generational timeframe. From a community development angle, it demonstrates how a community, Raetihi, Ohakune and Waiouru, developed a response to multiple complex issues, designed a collaborative response across the community, and embedded Indigenous values and aspirations at the centre of the response. These created regenerative practices in Indigenous and community development, a virtuous cycle of development where the community enhances and supports itself toward community-defined aspirations and outcomes. This is an example of a bottom-up, iterative, and holistic approach to development. So when we talk about sustainable platforms for change, it's not only tangible things like community learning centres and tech hubs or recruitment companies. It's actually about the way in which we work and the systems in which we establish to continue to work in such innovative ways. So for us, this cycle has been defined by the stat story solutions, te mea, around the outside, and then some of the most important factors being in the middle, heading out to some of the somewhat important factors. And this is a diagram that's coming out in our next Ruapehu Whānau Transformation Plan, which will be launched on the 29th of September. Conscious that I'm at 18 minutes, cousin. Sorry about that. But koina ngā whakaaro whakamutunga. So in conclusion, I want to kind of point out probably three of these particular kaupapa. This Ruapehu Whānau Transformation is iwi-led, collectively driven, and whānau-focused plan of action. It has an Indigenous lens that leads it for all. We have very much in line with the collective impact approach. We have a shared vision, shared values, and shared decision making. We also share resources. So when I talk about the community reference group, nowadays they don't hesitate in providing each other with money. So if someone needs 20,000 to get a particular something done, they will share that across the table without us, which is great. Stat Story Solutions, you heard about the power of that process. What it does, it provides authentic insights and aspirations of our people that should be guiding everything that we do. A sustainable impact and the importance of creating sustainable platforms for change. The thing about that is those sustainable platforms, like I said, will uphold the movement. They can and they will evolve with the needs. So as the needs of our whānau evolve, so too should our actions. But there should always be these sustainable waka that continue to guide us, very much like the Whānau Ora waka. The transcendental value of our whenua. So when I talked about and anchored this entire plan inside of Koro Ruapehu's teachings, we all know as tangata whenua that there is an inextricable link between the well-being of our lands and the well-being of our people. And we need to remember to continue to listen and learn from the whispers of our ancestors when it comes to, and of our lands, when it comes to thinking about pathways for well-being for us as people, and how we can learn from the resilience, I guess, and the thousands of years of histories from our lands and our waterways. And my last point about intergenerational responsibility, because I think that was in the title, ne tamati, is that, recently I was fortunate enough to share this story in Argentina at the Human Development and Capabilities Approach Conference. And what it reminded me of in hearing other stories from Indigenous peoples was that we are all but a moment in time. We are but a moment in time, and we are very fortunate, again, because there are some atrocious stories around the globe, we are fortunate that we have had leaders and people who have advocated and fought for us, who have fought for our culture and our language, being te wiko te reo Māori. Many of them sitting in this room at the front here. And I guess for people of my generation, the yangatahi generation, I wish. It's our turn. It's our turn to stand up. It's all of our moments in time, and we create platforms for our rangatai and for those, our babies coming forward. We create platforms, hopefully, that will help them continue that fight, because it will take a long time. So as I finish, I just want to take the opportunity to thank the Whaiau Miripika and the board, and also to validate Uncle Pahia's story. Yes, he was our teacher at school. Kia ora, Uncle. And jokes aside, I must say he still teaches us so much outside of the classroom as well. I really enjoy our time together, Uncle, and seeing the things that you do. I also want to acknowledge JT Awirangi and the leadership that you both bring to the whānau of Waipareira and to this movement that is Te Paumatakana. The one thing that we have really appreciated as a provider is that flexibility that you talked about, that commissioning for outcomes, and the agility that you provide us, and the trust that you have in us, that we know what's right for us, that our whānau know what is right for them. And I want to acknowledge Te Paumatakana for their approach in that. I also want to take the time to talk to our kaimahi and acknowledge all of you. From someone who has, in establishing some of these projects, worked alongside whānau, to now being the one who has to come and talk about these things. But luckily enough, we have amazing team members who do it now for us on the ground, as I know the struggle. I know how hard it is. I know how challenging it is. And so times like this are important for all of you to take a breather and to remember about self-care. Because you can't look after other people if you aren't first looking after yourselves. So please remember that, and thank you for your commitment, and thank you for your sacrifice, and that of your whānau too, for the mahi that you all do around the country. So I guess my last words is that it does, in acknowledging all of you and all of us and everything that's going on in the room, and I said to Te Pūtaitanga whai Mama Helen in the room, and the awesome mahi that they do down there is, it does take a village or a nation or a globe to address some of these things that we've been hearing about this morning, and to address some of the aspirations of our whānau. So we must remain relentless in the pursuit of turning aspirational policy and aspirational strategy into transformational action. Koina tāku, koina mātou mai I Ruapehu, nō reira tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.